and still without child. God has in her heart given her a promise unfulfilled. I mean, it's been 10 years and her breast still haven't nursed a baby. It's been 10 years and she has yet to experience the first, second, and third trimesters of unborn life. It's been 10 years and the matrix of her womb still goes yet unbroken. It's been 10 years. And after 10 years, Sarah got tired of waiting on God. Oh, don't you look at Sarah funny, because many of us don't wait 10 years to get tired of waiting on God. Some of us get tired after a week. We might as well tell the truth tonight. Some of us can't even wait a month, but Sarah at least waited 10 years. And after 10 years, she decides to help God out by doing something by means of the physical that God intended to be done by a miracle. God never intended for the child of the promise to be solely born on the biological efforts of Abraham and Sarah. God knew when he called Abraham and Sarah that Sarah couldn't have any children. But the reason why God told him that he's going to be the father of a multitude is because God knew what he was doing. This was going to be a miraculous birth. This was going to be a birth not of the flesh, but of the spirit. This would be a birth that would defy the odds and override the course of nature until God brought to pass what he had promised. God knew what he was doing. But the problem was Abraham and Sarah didn't know what God was doing. And so they figured they would help him out. Do you not realize, my brothers and sisters, that God don't need our help? Amen up in here. God don't need our help because the Bible explains to us that God is our help. It's in Psalms 33 and verse number 20 that the psalmist writes, "Our soul waiteth for the Lord. He is our help and our shield." In Psalms 46 verse number 1, Bible says God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Psalms 121 verses 1 and 2, "I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth." God doesn't need our help. He is our help. And so many times, my brothers and sisters, I'm mighty afraid that we're guilty of not trusting that there is nothing too hard for God. And because we don't trust God to handle it, we try to take matters into our own hands. We start trying to do what we ought to be waiting on God to do. We start trying to fix what we ought to be waiting on God to fix. And whenever we don't wait on God, we gonna mess up every time. Many of us tonight can look back over the course of our lives and see some occasions when we had our hands in the diagnosis. We can look back and see when we tried to self-medicate our own wounds. And instead of making things better, things got worse. Because God don't need our help. Whenever you take a problem to God, do like the songwriter said, and take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Don't pick the burden back up and then haul it back off on your back. Take it, unload it, and say, "God, I'm giving it over to you," and then let the Lord have it. Sarah tried to help God out. In her effort to help God out, she decided that she wanted a baby so bad. She told Abraham, "Here, take my handmaid and get her pregnant so that she can have a baby for me. After all, this girl is my possession. So whatever belongs to her, since I own her, it belongs to me." Brothers and sisters, when Abraham complied, that other woman saw she was pregnant with his baby. Sarah had all kind of problems at that little Egyptian girl. Amen. I ain't just making it up. The Bible says that when she saw that she was pregnant, her mistress, which is Sarah, was despised in her eyes, which means she looked at Sarah in a different way now that she was carrying master's child. She looked at Sarah as if Sarah was less than a woman, because she couldn't have no babies. And here she was, a slave girl, carrying the master's baby. Oh, I could just imagine with my sanctified imagination. Y'all know I got an imagination. And I thought about what the Bible said when it informed us that Hagar wasn't looking at Sarah the same. It was the fact that since Sarah was her mistress, since Sarah was her master, Hagar was supposed to do whatever Sarah told her to do. I could just imagine that Sarah tells Hagar, oh, go fetch me a cup of water. And Hagar, in her pregnant state, because she was pregnant with Abraham's baby, would mouth back at Sarah and tell her, baby, my feet swollen and my breasts are tender, and I don't feel like walking up that hill to get you no water. You get your own water, and after you finish getting your own water, then why don't you tell my baby daddy to come spend some time with you? Amen. The Bible informs us that she started having all kind of problems with that girl. Matter of fact, they got so bad to where Sarah told Abraham that woman and that child got to go. She ain't got to go back to Egypt, but she got to get out of here. Amen. If you're going to trust God, then trust God. Don't ever run ahead of God trying to get right now what God intends for you to have later. Brothers and sisters, God knows what you need, but more importantly, God knows when you need it. So it's not the fact that God's not going to give it to you. It may be the case that it's just not time yet. See, sometimes if God gives us what we want when we want it, we'll have selective amnesia of how we got what we got. We'll start thinking that we pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We'll start patting ourselves on the back, and we'll turn to the fella in Luke chapter 12 that started talking to himself when his ground gave forth a plenty. When he didn't have any room to bestow the fruit that had just come up, he said, I will destroy my small barns and build me some bigger barns, and then I'll say to my soul. So he starts talking to himself because he thinks that what has happened because of his own feeble efforts. And see, that's how fools think. Fools start to think that they did it all themselves. Fools start to think that the reality of the success lies in their own possession. And so even in that passage, God called him a fool and said it's not going to be tomorrow, but it's going to be tonight that your soul is going to be required of you. If God gives this to us now, sometimes we'll forget where the blessing comes from. But see, when God allows you to do all that you can do, when God allows you to exhaust all of your efforts, I mean, when you have gone to this place, and when you go to that place, and when doors have been slammed in your face, when you've made all the phone calls you could possibly make because you know folk and you're somebody in the corporate world, and when your calls remain unanswered, when you can't even get people who you thought were for you to help you, it's at those times when you've reached the bottom of the bottom that you finally realize where your help came from all the time. And that's when you call on God and say, Father, I stretch my hand to thee. There is no other help that I know. And if you do withdraw yourself to me, Lord, I don't know where else I can possibly go. It's during those times that God allows you to see where your blessings come from. There is nothing too hard for the Lord. And if we would just learn to wait and to be patient on God, God will show us that he knew what he was doing all the time. When Abraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90, God fulfilled his promise and gave them a son who they named Isaac. Because